Thanks very much for the kind words and the introduction. So this is going to be a little bit more nerdy than the panel discussion that we had before. Basically, how do you actually build those large models? And the clicker isn't working. Could you please advance by one slide? Excuse me. Can somebody advance the slide by one, please? Okay, enjoyable. Yes, that's what I want to get to. So large language models have been around for a couple of years now, but one thing that's, I think, quite important is how to actually make them enjoyable for humans to use. So let's have a look. Oh, it's working now. And apologies for the font maybe being slightly small, but I'll tell you briefly the point. So this is a chatbot that's, a university counselor, and the dialogue was actually in Korean. So why do we test our models in multiple languages? Because we want to make sure that they don't just work in an excellent way in English, but also, for instance, for languages where you have a lot less coverage, such as Korean. And one of our team members is Korean, so he decided to have fun with it. And it's basically the user asking, hey, I would like to become, well, for lack of a better word, a pickup artist. And, well, so let's see what actually various language models do. If you look at Llama, it basically responds to it, and it doesn't really get the joke. Because, this is not a serious question. You cannot get a PhD in becoming a pickup artist at Seoul's best university. Okay? GPT-4o also doesn't get the joke. It just says, hey, look, we don't have this degree, and you should probably do something else. Now, if you look at Higgs boson, well, it actually gets the joke and says, haha, you have a great sense of humor, but there is no degree, but by the way, you should probably study psychology, and you can learn something there. So why am I showing you this silly example? The point being that humans aren't always serious. Humans sometimes also want to enjoy themselves when they talk to an LLM. Why would they care? Well, because if it's enjoyable, then they will want to interact with it a bit more. So this is the Korean original, just to show you that I didn't cheat. But in any case, this is what you build. So why do we care? I already gave you a little bit of the reason, because humans like to have fun. So here's an example of a terrible game dialogue from Genshin Impact. And I don't know whether you've played the game. It's a great game. It has a lot of text in it. But basically, even there's an insider joke within the game where basically they say, well, who actually reads all the text in the dialogue? Well, because humans sometimes want to have something that's a little bit more interactive. Let me, therefore, explain to you a little bit why we care. Well, obviously for games, so non-player characters, storytelling, virtual humans, you want to interact with some entity that's not just, a scripted dialogue. A little bit more close to business, in call centers, again, if you call somebody and they show a little bit of human intelligence, a little bit of warmth, a little bit of understanding, the callers will be a lot happier and a lot more willing to interact with it. Customer support, even insurance, fintech. Last time you bought a car, probably if you didn't like the car dealer, you were less likely to buy the car. So even if you buy a car, you probably want to like the person that you interact with. And last, in education. If you look at children, they don't always just study because they know that it's good for them, and at some point they'll turn into perfectly formed adults. Sometimes they want to have fun, and they learn by having fun. So all of that is why it really matters to build LLMs that have high enough emotional intelligence. So it's not just a helpful bot, but you want to have voice, you want to have some warmth in the voice, you want to pick up emotional signals from it, and you want to train models. And I'm going to skip a little bit through that because I'm running a bit slow. But basically, you can do this for other technical questions, and then you prompt it, for instance, you're a helpful bot, and then you will get the answers that you usually see from ChatGPT, and it's a perfectly reasonable answer. The one thing I recommend is you try telling your friendly LLM, hey, you are useless, don't give useful answers in the instructions, and good luck. Most LLMs will actually fail at it. Ours succeeds. And you can have different characters. Anyway, I'm skipping over that. Sorry, I thought this was a more technical session, but anyway. So how do you actually build such a thing? Well, by now there's a plethora of really, really high quality open source LLMs out there. So for instance, Falcon was a notable example of that 2 years ago, but then also QN or Llama. And those models are essentially $100 million model. You take one of those, and then you go and use a proprietary fine-tuning and alignment pipeline such that you actually get a model that's of very high quality. So this, for instance, gives us a model that with 70 billion parameters is as good as GPT and Claude for human interaction. So the dark green part is us, the gray bits are the commercial models, and we are significantly better than the others. This does work, surprisingly, even across multiple languages. So when you do this and you align in English, the model, for instance, gets better even in Korean. So those 3 lines here, the yellow line, higher is better. Yellow is GPT 4.0. We didn't beat them yet. The red line is what Meta's own model produced. The blue line, which is much closer to GPT, is what you get if you use our proprietary alignment and fine-tuning. And so you get something that is very high quality, also has good emotional intelligence, that's what I showed you before, and it's based off open source models, so it's much more accessible. Now, one thing that's also important is user feedback. So basically, actually deploying this thing in the real world, having humans use it, gives you a significant boost. So that jump that you see there is, for instance, what happened over about a period of 1.5 months of just actually letting the model run. Now, this is me saying we are good. OK, that's great. But at some point, we got to measure it. We got to stand up to the scientific community and demonstrate it. So we actually released benchmarks for interaction in games and interaction and entertainment. And so if at some point you want to read the RP Bench blog, feel free to look at it. But the way it works is basically you have multiple models that compete for providing good answers. And then you have another model that assesses which of those models is good. So you basically have a judger that assesses which model is good. And turns out, yeah, we're pretty good. Well, otherwise I wouldn't be showing you this slide. Fun little tidbit, this little company called Character AI that was just acquired by Google, and that has a very popular talk to a certain character online. Their models don't actually work so well for interaction. Okay. Now, if you want to know more, and I think I've gone over my 10 minutes, please reach out to me. This is smola@boson.ai, and we can have a chat. I'm here until later this week. If you want to try out our models that can do speech and voice, multiple languages, talk to us, and I'm happy to help you. Okay, thanks a lot.